All right, so we've been learning about justice, guys, okay? And so before we begin, right here, there we go, yep, there you go. All right, we got it here. All right, so in Psalm 119, verse 31, I believe it's 31, it might be 32. Let me get it here. There we go. Just as a reminder, guys, when we talk about God's law, listen to what Psalm 119, verse 32 says. Okay, this is David's heart, and this should be our heart when we're Christians. It says, I will run in the way of your commandments when you enlarge my heart. So guys, I emphasize this all the time, is God's law doesn't save us. It leads us to Jesus. But guys, if we have trusted Jesus as our Savior, guess what? God's law is written on our hearts. And we have a desire to follow Him and glorify Him. And His law, guys, shows us the way to honor and glorify God. And so this should be our hearts as Christians, is God, I don't want to just walk in your ways. I want to run in your ways. God, help me. Enlarge my heart to love your word and obey it. Now, we've been learning about justice. And today, I want you guys to understand, number one, is how applicable this is for all of you guys. Okay? Everyone. Okay? Super applicable. So we'll learn about that. And then I want to give a warning that we need to rightly understand. So what we need to see is we've been talking about the strong and the weak. And I've tried to share is that the strong tend to oppress the weak. You guys remember what oppress means? Oppress is cruel rule. Okay? It's to control. It's to use your strength to control or rule in an oppressive way. Okay? A lot of time, big brothers oppress little brothers and sisters, right? You wouldn't do that though, Dave, would you? Duluth? Yeah, think about it. Okay? See, the tendency when we have strength is we use it for self-centered means. And so, guys, we see this everywhere. This is all over in movies. Cinderella being oppressed by the wicked stepmother. Okay? Rapunzel entangled. She's oppressed by, I think it's Mother Gothel or whatever, okay? Lord of the Rings, you have the hobbits, and the men, and the dwarves, and the elves. And they're oppressed by Sauron and big government. And so the point is, guys, is all these movies are about the weak being able to get from under that oppression. Okay? When we watch these things, we love it. We might not be able to identify it, but hopefully now you can. When you watch movies, look for it. Are the strong protecting the weak, or are they oppressing the weak? And so the solution, guys, to our sinful hearts isn't to get rid of strong and weak. That tends to be how we tend to think. But the solution is that the strong need to use their strength to protect the weak. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to emphasize. God's Word tells the strong, like fathers, to protect the weak, children. See, fathers shouldn't use children just for their own means, free slaves, do those sorts of things. Fathers should use their strength to protect those under them. Okay? And so what I've said is the strong, those who have strength, and we all have strength to various degrees, but the strong can either protect or oppress the weak. And God's Word talks pointedly to the strong and commands the strong to protect the weak, even though our tendency is to exploit the weak for our own purposes, our own self-centeredness. Okay? And why does God tell us to protect the weak? Because, guys, that's who God is. Remember, Psalm 146 says this, the Lord watches over the sojourners, those who are vulnerable to be taken advantage of. He upholds the widow, God does, and the fatherless, but the way of the wicked He brings to ruin. And so, guys, God, does God have strength? All strength. And He, guys, looks out for those who are weak, those who are vulnerable, those who are being taken advantage of. Okay, and so should we. That's why, again, superhero movies, most all of them, okay? But Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. That's a biblical principle, guys. When we have strength, we have a responsibility to help those who don't have strength, okay? But it's not just superheroes. The Titanic. You guys ever hear of the Titanic? It's a big ship about 110 years ago that sunk. And you had thousands of people drowning. And you want to know what? You want to know what the men did? The men made room. There wasn't enough lifeboats for everybody. They was falling, and they were going to drown, and they were going to go in the cold Atlantic, and many of them would die. Yeah, that's what was happening. But listen though, guys, is the men since they were stronger and they could get to the lifeboats the quickest, did they fill up the lifeboats and save themselves and let the women and children die? No. They said women and children first, because they recognized men could maybe survive in the cold Atlantic water, but women and children would die. And so they sought to protect, they used their strength to try to protect those who were weaker, those who were more vulnerable to dying. Okay? And so the point is, guys, is this is what God calls us to do. And we see this all over in the book of Judges. You have judges raised up. There's people who are oppressing Israel, Moab or Midian or the Philistines or whatever. And God raises up a judge to set his people free, to free his people from that oppression. Like Gideon or Samson, or my personal favorite, Ehud. Okay? And so the point is, we read this over and over and over. Or Esther, I read this in my Bible reading recently. Esther was queen of Persia. And then somebody, a high-ranking official in Persia named Haman, decided that he was an Agagite. He decided he was going to kill all the Jews. He was going to use his power, his strength, and he was going to kill all the Jewish people. Is that bad? It is. And so Esther, as queen, and she was a Jew, Haman didn't know it, but she was confronted or encouraged by her uncle, Mordecai, and this is what he said to her. He said, if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place. See, he knew God was faithful to his promises. But then he said, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. This is my point, guys. Mordecai encouraged Esther to say, recognize the position you're in, the strength you have, the authority you have, and try to use that to help others. And you know what she did? She risked her own life to try to save those that she had a chance to do. And God used that. And so my point is, guys, is that's what God calls all of us to do. Not just superheroes like Spider-Man and Superman. God calls all of us to look out for others who are oppressed and to stand up for them. And so for you guys, this is why it's so applicable, okay? Because, guys, there could be bullies, okay? And somebody can't stand up against it. And you might be the one who needs to stand up. That doesn't mean fight. That's beyond where I am in the children's home. But the point is, you need to stand up for those who are being picked on, right? Does that take courage? Yeah. Or you see somebody who's lonely. That's another one. Lone. You guys have friends. Okay, I see you all the time, right? Guys, you can befriend the lonely. You see that? Okay? Maybe even in your family, okay? If you see one of your siblings get picked on, help them out, right? Or do you guys ever pick on each other? No. Okay, well, maybe that's not that application, but there's many others. So the point is, guys, is we need to recognize how applicable this is. Now, last week we looked at who the weak and vulnerable were. That is, some people are more susceptible to being taken advantage of. And we listed out all those. Orphans, widows, sojourners, the poor, the weak, the needy. The Bible lists almost all those, the blind, the deaf, and we added others that aren't explicitly in the Bible, but that clearly are weak and vulnerable, like refugees, those who are disabled, single parents, the unborn. Okay? Can the unborn defend themselves? Can a baby in a mama's belly defend itself? No. Can't say anything. So we need to step up, okay? And so the point is, guys, is why this becomes important is because we need to recognize is that we still live in a society in America that has the vestiges, that is the last remaining parts of biblical morality, okay? And the reason I say that is this. If a ship was sinking today, how many men do you think would use their strength and say women and children first? No, probably only 6. So the point is, not near as many as 110 years ago, I would argue. Right? Okay? And so the point is this, guys, but we still have some principles. And what we recognize in our society is when we see weak and vulnerable, we seek to give them honor. We seek to help them. We give them special attention. Because that's what God does. And that's what he calls us to do. So for instance, guys, but we have handicap spaces, okay, to help the disabled to be able to get to places they need to go so they don't have to walk the whole parking lot, okay? We have signs like that. There we go, like deaf child area, because can a deaf child hear a car coming? So we want people to be aware, be careful if you see a child. So the point is we want to give honor and special attention to those who are weak and vulnerable. But this can be manipulated. And this is where we need wisdom. See, we live in a day and age where everybody's a victim. I could break into Hal's house, and if he shoots me, I could sue him because of what he did to me. I mean, that's just the day and age we live. Everybody wants to be a victim. And so we need to be careful who are the weak and the vulnerable. This takes wisdom. It's not always easy. Like when it's Haman trying to kill all the Jewish people, that was pretty easy for Esther to know who the oppressed was, wasn't it? But for us, it takes wisdom. So I need Sean to come on up here. All right? Sean is going to be my example for us to learn some principles of how difficult it can be, okay? And knowing who should be defended and helped and that. So, Sean, I'll pick Sean because this is true. But Sean loves people. Huh? He is part of the PEC, okay? He loves people so much. You guys know what PEC is? I made it up, okay? It's, let me see here. The People Eaters Club. See? He loves people because they taste good. He's cannibalism. You got it. He's a cannibal. Okay? Now, I know the tendency in the Christian church is to kind of be bigoted toward people who eat other people. Okay? And it sounds bad. But I want to explain to you why it's not as bad as it sounds. Okay? In fact, Sean's kind of persecuted. Nobody will go over to his house to eat. Huh? Nobody. That's it. Okay, so I want to explain to you why we need to show him grace. Okay, number one, some people are born this way. In other words, they naturally have an inclination to eat human flesh. Callista, you like chocolate? I don't. See, it's personal preference. He likes people? I don't. Okay? It's personal preference when it comes to eating people. And guys, if he's born that way, I mean, really, would God call him to not take part of what he has an inclination for? Surely not. So, next thing, guys, is murder in the Bible. That might be what you're thinking. Well, it's wrong to eat people because then you got to kill them. But murder in the Bible doesn't refer to consenting cannibalism. See, if he takes Knox home and eats him against his will, that's murder, guys. That's sinful. But if Hal wants to go get eaten, huh? There we go. It's not murder then. It is not murder. It's in fact, it's a way of loving people. Okay? It's people loving. Okay? Second thing is, Jesus never mentions cannibalism. You know that you can read the Bible, you will not find cannibalism in the Gospels. Red letters? Nope. He never says it. Okay? You know why he doesn't say cannibalism? Maybe he doesn't think it's wrong. Next. Judge not. Let the one without sin cast the first stone. See, most of us as Americans, I mean, we all sin with food. Most of us are gluttons. Okay, so his sin with food is a little different than our sin. It doesn't give you the right, me the right, to judge him for his sin. Right. It's not even. Sin is sin, guys. Okay? Eating people is not worse than overeating. Okay? And we almost all overeat. So let's just recognize that. And then lastly, Jesus, guys, and this is the big one, he accepted the social outcasts of his day. Lepers, harlots, tax collectors. Okay? And I would argue the social outcasts of our day are cannibals. Okay? I mean, and so my point is this. The history of the church has been pretty mean to people like Sean. They've been pretty bigoted, treating him like he's some horrible sinner, despising him, looking at him like he's despicable. And so what I want you guys to understand is that now we need to recognize as a more tolerant church, okay? We need to come along with the times. We need to recognize and create a safe place for Christian cannibals. Okay? And so the way we love our cannibal brethren, okay, is we gotta accept them into the society. Right? Is that what we should do? So, okay, they say yeah. I know. So my follow-up. Yeah, my follow-up is no. Okay, not at all. Here's the point, guys. This is the point. This is a little above most of you guys, but the point is this. Guys, it is very important we define who the weak and vulnerable are, according to God's Word. Okay? Guys, if we normalize what God's Word says is an abomination to accept people in, that's not love, guys. And guys, that's not justice. Amen. That's not justice. Amen. Okay? Thank you, Sean. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Thanks for your acceptance. Okay? And so the point is this, guys. This is what I want you guys to understand. Cannibals aren't weak and vulnerable and shouldn't be accepted as normal things like we know that. Okay? And so, but here's the point. We're back to where we were a year ago. Evil men do not understand justice. And guys, if the church doesn't follow God's Word, neither does the church. Okay? Those who seek the Lord understand it completely. See, guys, God's Word calls us to treat cannibals a certain way, but it's not by accepting them into society and creating Christian cannibalism in the church. That's not love. And we know that. It's obvious. So how can we know who are the weak and vulnerable in society? Who we should defend? Who we should seek to protect? Again, guys, it's back to God and His Word. See, we are dependent as creatures upon God and His Word. There are things that seem right in our society that are evil and unjust. And unless we focus upon God and who He is, look what it says in Deuteronomy 32. The rock, that's God, His work is perfect, for all His ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and upright is He. We need to look to God, His character, and who He is to know what's just and what's not. So let's pray and ask God to give us grace to be humbly accepting of His Word and trusting in Him, even if it's not popular in our day. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank You for Your Word. We thank You that You didn't leave us in the dark to try to figure out what's just and what's not. Lord, forgive us for so often looking to our own reason or our own cultural, societal values to try to determine these things. Help us, Lord, to be people of the book who love You, who love Your Word, and who seek to follow You. And as we do it, Lord, help us to be the kind of people that will use the strength You've given us to protect those who are weak and vulnerable around us. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, guys.